Yo, it's your boys, Zane and Gentleman Gamer here to talk about news, comic books, video games, and movies, and all that cool stuff. As always, you're tuned into the Undisputed Nerds Podcast. I am your host, Zane Tai Cho. As always, I'm joined by Gigi. How are you, good sir?
Oh, hello everyone in Radio Land. You did a weird type of intro then. I wasn't expecting that. You did yeah, you tried to make us sound cool before inevitably it just all came crashing down around our ears. But yes, I'm doing well, thank you, Zane. I'm extremely happy it is the weekend. As we record this, it's Friday night. Yes, I'm doing well. How are you? How are you doing, good sir? How was your jaunt around the con of the anime thing that you did last week that I have intimate knowledge of because I'm so into that?
So plugged in. Yeah, it was good, thank you. It was a cool experience more than anything, just to meet new creators who are into anime and stuff, had some good conversations, cosplayers and stuff, and yeah, just amazing merch around. So yeah, it was a cool experience.
What did you go dressed as?
I didn't really cosplay.
Did you go as mild-mannered Jimmy Olsen with a press pass?
Yes, that's exactly who I went as. Yeah.
Nice. I can't wait for you and I to go to a con together, and you know, you to go dressed as something cool, probably, you know, like some anime character that I'm completely unaware of, and me to go as the traditional fat white nerd in a t-shirt too small for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for agreeing with that.
I mean, let's face it, both of our options are limited because mean, like,
play to your strengths. I got you.
Yeah, at this stage, my only options to go cosplay is either Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, or what's his name, Bloodsport from bloody
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
You wish you could go as either of those people. You wish you could. Oh jeez, well that started things on a high. I don't know when the next con is. You and I need to definitely organise to go to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it London next? I think it's the London one. Is it?
I think there's a couple of MCM conventions that have been announced.
There's one in Birmingham, isn't there?
Yeah, Birmingham.
We should definitely go to Birmingham. Not giving away our location, but we're within the region of Birmingham, so yeah, we should definitely. Or the Bristol one.
Yes, Bristol won't be cool. But yeah, actually, I should say, because I got a press pass, thank you to London Anime Gaming Con for the press pass and everything else and allow me to visit. There we go.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for giving a press pass to Zane. I'm never going to hear the end of it. No, thank you. Any support is welcome. So Zane, this week, what are we doing this week, Zane?
We, with all the hype and all the rumors around Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, a lot of people on the internet have been talking about the Illuminati, Marvel's Illuminati, I should say. And we thought it'd be fun to cast our own version of the Illuminati. Maybe it's multiversal, maybe it's not. Who knows?
It's fan casting gone insane, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's really particularly annoying for me about this particular topic? Not just because we were originally going to fan cast the Avengers and then this happened and you made me change it to the Illuminati. And Illuminati, which was a lot harder, by the way, guys. It was a lot harder to fan cast for this than it was the Avengers. But also, this is the one trailer, right? So, you know, we like to keep abreast of the information out there in the world when it comes to. But I felt recently, especially with things like The Matrix and some other, Spider-Man is probably another good example of it. Trailers are making a habit of giving stuff away that I don't want to know before I go into the film. So I thought to myself,
Sony.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Sony. Yeah. Don't even bother releasing Morbius. I already know everything that happens. But like, I deliberately tried to stay away from this Doctor Strange trailer because I was like, oh, it's gonna be Sam Raimi, and I like Doctor Strange. I like Benedict Cumberbatch anyway. So, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss out on anything by not watching the trailer. I'm not going to miss out on anything. And then, lo and behold, like the internet exploded this week. And it's like all the stuff I wanted to avoid, basically, I just got spoiled for me anyway without watching the effing trailer.
Yeah.
It's not fair, Zane. Life's not fair.
The internet's not fair.
The internet's not a fair place to be. I'm not even on Twitter. But yes, yeah. So yeah, we're going to do some Illuminati fan casting. I don't mind saying so. I've picked some hot takes that you're going to love, Zane.
Ooh,
and I know that you've got a hot take for me that sounded wrong. I know you've got something that's going to be good as well. Anyway, before we do any of that, we've got our regularly recurring segments, starting with everyone's favorite. He's a friend of the show, the natural thespian. It's time to say, what's all the rage with Nicolas Cage?
Ridden Rain Man.
Have you ridden Rain Man?
Yeah, because he came down.
So was he nice to you? Was Rain Man nice to you?
Was he nice to you? I wonder, Zane.
Funny story. I was playing Halo this week, and for some reason that soundbite played. The multiplayer version.
Okay.
And for some reason that soundbite played, and everyone's like, "What was that?"
You're psyching them out. You're psyching them out with some Nicolas Cage, with some hot Nicolas Cage. I look forward to you playing that game and like hitting someone with a plasma grenade, and then just hearing "How to get burned? How to get burned? How to get burned?"
Yeah.
So, Nicolas Cage is obviously he's prepping up for the release of The Unbearable Burden of Acting Talent. He's also working on as Dracula in his new movie. But so what I thought we'll do is we'll go back to some of the Nicolas Cage facts, because obviously he's got his head down at the moment. This one, now I'm gonna say that he has not confirmed this 100% yet, but there are apparently documents that prove that he has purchased this. But brace yourself for this, Zane. All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to read this whole thing out because it's amazing. Standing in St. Louis Cemetery, number 1 in New Orleans, is a 9-foot pyramid tomb that carries a Latin maxim, omni ab uno, which means everything from one. The grave underneath is currently unoccupied, but some have speculated that it may eventually house Nicolas Cage, who purchased the twin plots in 2010 and built the pyramid over them.
What?
It has never publicly commented on the sale. Nicolas Cage owns a pyramid tomb in New Orleans that he wants to be buried in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I will. I want to send you the image. Let me see if I can open the image, and I'll send it to you so that those of you who are listening on YouTube can appreciate the grand. The grand. It's so not grand, by the way. It's so not grand. But this is the picture.
In my mind, I can only imagine like Moon Knight sort of.
Well, I've sent you the image, so you can.
Okay,
it is quite remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He's he's very spiritual, as we all know. And could this that's it. That's where the graves go. That's where the graves are.
Of course.
Now I know for those of you who are not currently experiencing the glory of this, it's a very pale white pyramid, as you would expect, with a name plaque on the front and like a chunk missing at the front of it to fit the coffins in. Now, Zane, I'm not speaking for you, but I think that we can all agree here at Undisputed Nerds that is a thing of beauty.
It's definitely something. It looks so out of place, doesn't it, compared like with the rest of everything else in the background? Like,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a twin plot, and obviously Nicolas Cage is a friend of the show and he watches.
Mm.
So, Nicolas Cage, bury me with you. Anyway, that's today's What's All the Rage with Nicolas Cage. So you're shocked by that, aren't you?
I'm, yeah, to say the least. Not only did he have Action Comics #1, but he has a pyramid.
That's his fortress of solitude. That's where he goes to reflect.
Speak to Jarrell.
What should I name my next son?
Jarrell, speak to me. Where are you?
But why would I call him General Zod? General Zod Cage. Anyway, so moving on from the Nicolas Cage news, it's our other regularly recurring segment, Tips and Bits, which we don't have any sound bites for. But so Tips and Bits, where we look at all the hottest and freshest tips and bits from the week of nerdy news. So I thought it would be nice for us to have a bit of a palate cleanser this week before we go into the old DC and Marvel news. So we're going to talk about something it's come up in the past with some other filmmakers. But I just wanted to kind of have a very brief discussion with you about it. Basically, Zane. So Francis Ford Coppola, who obviously famous director, he's directed The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's done loads of things. He was doing an interview with GQ. And he has said that let's put it this way. He's not a fan of Marvel movies. And he cites them as a decline in cinema. I'll read the quote. So this is an exact quote from Coppola. There used to be studio films. Now there are Marvel pictures. And what is a Marvel picture? A Marvel picture is one prototype movie that is made over and over and over and over and over and over again to look different. Even, and then he's also then went on to paint the likes of Dune and James Bond No Time to Die with the same brush. Pointing out that even good blockbusters can fall victim to this formula. So he said, even the talented people, you could take Dune, made by Denis Villeneuve, an extremely talented, gifted artist, and you could take No Time to Die, directed by Cary Fukunaga, extremely gifted again. And you could take both those movies, and you and I could go and pull the same sequence out of both of them and put them together. The same sequence where the cars all crash into each other. They all have that stuff in it. They almost have to have it if they're going to justify their budget. And that's the good films and the talented filmmakers. Now, the writer of this article did then go on to say, I must have taken the big bathroom break for the big car crash that's in June. But anyway, it's an interesting conversation to have at the beginning of this podcast, just to say, studios have become studios and cinema in general have become quite homogenized in terms of kind of like superhero movies and DC and Marvel and that side of things. Obviously, we do a podcast called Undisputed Nerds, so we're obviously on the side of we like superhero movies. However, do you think his take on this is a valid one? And do you think that films like the Marvel movies and stuff sometimes take away from other projects that would potentially be A-list blockbusters, things like, for example, Inception, or maybe, some classics like Terminator or something like that? Would they still have got made, if Marvel movies were around?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation because, as you mentioned, there's this whole debate about superhero movies becoming very, help me with the word here, formulaic. They're very formula. Thank you. I can't say it there.
Formulaic.
But there is a template sort of thing. And if history's ever taught us anything about cinema, there's always like a sort of fad or a certain genre that they latch onto. Because let's face it, like the great spaghetti western era, that was a thing. Then there was
80s action movies.
80s action movies. There was the whole sort of cop dramas, like your Dirty Harrys at one stage as well.
Yeah.
So cinema likes to go through these phases. I think there was even like a pirates phase, not Pirates of the Caribbean, but like in old sort of cinema, in maybe
back in the
white.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. So cinema does like to go, whatever works, they'll just monopolize on it without a shadow of a doubt. In terms of, does it overshadow over things? Here's the thing, like with your audience, if they do expect a certain, shall we say, template, I guess it could go against it, because there's movies like The Duel that failed miserably, but at the same time, it wasn't exactly something that the audience would run in to see. A story about two knights fighting over potentially, some sort of mishap behind closed doors. It's but at the same time, movies
I know
like
what you
that
wanted to say there. Two knights fighting over a lady.
But there are movies that are Oscar bait as well, aren't there? Because there's
absolutely.
movies like that, and the Gucci movie, that they're seen as proper Oscar bait movies. They're only made to win awards.
That's another interesting conversation there, because there's a lot of people who believe that No Way Home should have been nominated for at least a couple of Oscars, even if it's just around special effects and that side of things. And it was snubbed by the Oscars. And obviously the Oscars is a committee of academics who, including Francis Ford Coppola, I think, is on that panel, and you can kind of understand with comments like that why they get snubbed a lot. That I mean, I think the last comic book movie to win an Oscar was besides kind of special effects and stuff like that, but I think it was Joaquin Phoenix, wasn't it, with Joker? I think that was the last
Joker,
the last big one,
possibly Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yes, for animated. Yes, I think. Yeah. Obviously, we all remember. I'm going to bring this up for our sometimes co-host Rinsler, but we all always remember when the first Suicide Squad won the Academy Award for makeup and special effects.
Who could forget?
Who could forget that time? I mean, obviously well earned. It didn't go up against anything better, like Star Trek Beyond, for example.
Did you see Killer Croc? I mean, I did.
I'll tell you what, El Diablo, those tattoos, mate, they didn't just come on his body by themselves. So no, it's a fascinating conversation. I think it's one that we could probably go in a bit more in depth into at some point. But I personally feel like the homogenizing of cinema and the change of it has not necessarily been because of superhero movies, because when you think about it, superhero movies have been around now for almost 20 years. No, in fact, more than 20 years, because we had the first, we had the Maguire Spider-Man in 2001, 2002.
X-Men was 2000s.
X-Men was 2000s. Blade was 97. They've been around for a long time. And I personally think that it's the rise of streaming services and the churning out of cinema through those streaming services that is causing the most damage to the cinema goers, because like you said, The Last Duel, nobody went to see that, and then it's immediately on a streaming service now. And a lot of, it's a lot of these things like where I just see big cinema releases, big cinema blockbusters. Part of the appeal used to be like, oh, well, you see it at the cinema because you're not going to be able to see it then for like, a good 6 months to a year before it comes on to DVD or Blu-ray release. And now, like, things like Marvel especially is a good example of that, where it's like, well, Eternals happened, in like October, and then it's out on streaming in December.
Well, they have a 45-day turnaround time now. So it's literally 45 days and it will be on the streaming service. Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals.
Which is rubbish, because it's like, well, it's almost like you're cutting off their nose to spite their face. With Marvel, it's slightly different, because there's big things that you want to see before anyone else sees it, because you don't want to have people talking about it and you don't understand what the conversation is. But yeah, I don't know. It is an interesting conversation. I don't agree with Ford Coppola in terms, because I think some comic book movies. It's the same with all genre. Comic book movies has become its own film genre. There are some instances with it where you can have terrible films, Eternals, where it's just not good, or first Suicide Squad, where it's just not good, and it's a terrible example of the genre. Then you can have other things that are exceptional pieces of the genre, like The Dark Knight, or Endgame, even Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame are an amazing examples of incredible ensemble pieces that are really engaging and capture you.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same as all things. It's like you said, that you're right. Cinema goes through phases. There was a big horror phase as well in the 80s, and God, that's a what better example of that is Halloween 1 is an exceptional film. Halloween 5 is a big bag of well, yeah. Anyway, there we go. So yeah, I don't personally agree with Ford Coppola, but I'd be very interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that. That is a good shout out for anyone listening. What are your thoughts on the way that comic book movies have affected cinema, and have they diluted the genre? Have they diluted cinema and what it is to be movies and thespians? Is the day of the great actor Russell Crowe over, or can he once again rise, Zeus?
If anyone's making the most money out of this, it's got to be Russell, right?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Listen, Russell Crowe for me peaked when he was Jekyll and Hyde in The Mummy. All right. No, nobody can ever forget his surly, drunken Australian performance as Hyde in that film. Anyway.
Oh, Tom.
moving on. Right, let's do what we'll do is we'll do some DC Batman news, then we'll have another palate cleanser, and then we'll round off the Marvel news for this week. So some interesting news coming out this week. There's been a bunch of stuff about the Batman, so this is all Batman related. It's very close, Zane. Very close. It is a few weeks away. Let's get our speculation hats on, because I'm going to slaughter his name, because I always slaughter his name, and I'm trying to work out what his name is again. Oh yeah, it's that name. Barry Keoghan. I can never say his name. He's Irish. He's amazing. He's really good in the Eternals. Unfortunately, he wasn't used enough. There is so much speculation about what this boy is doing. So he's apparently in one scene.
Yeah.
There has been an official credit sheet released for the Batman. Would you like to hear what he is listed as on the credit list?
Do tell.
Brace yourself.
Okay.
Barry Keoghan is credited as unseen Arkham prisoner. So, last month, I suppose, breakdown of Keoghan's only scene leaked, and the description only referred to him as unnamed prisoner in Arkham Asylum, and this is what's also confirmed on this credit sheet. There was no other implications that this individual was the Joker, which a lot of people are speculating that he is the Joker, aside from the fact that apparently his laugh was described to be hyena-like.
Okay.
So a lot of people are speculating that he is going to be the Joker, whether it's on screen or off screen. What is your take on this? Can you really have the Joker without being on screen? Is it also way too early, like my opinion is, way too early to have the Joker in this iteration of the Batman?
Oh, yeah. Let's think about what we know. Warner Brothers will want this because they love Joker. So much so, Phoenix is back to do a Joker 2. Somehow. The actor, like you said, he's high profile enough because he's done Eternals. He's even done Dunkirk, a Nolan movie. Anyone who says they've been in a Nolan movie get paid bucks.
That's true.
So it'd be a waste for him to just be a background, like an extra, dare I say. Here's my hot take. I'd like it. I honestly would like it not to be a Joker. If it was someone else like Anarchy or, anyone else in that rogues gallery. Obviously, we've already got the Riddler, which is a real nice take. Since Jim Carrey. Yeah. Would he be Two-Face? No.
No.
It's-
A hyena-like laugh. I was trying to think of people who have hyena-like laughs. There's a couple of people that I can think of that potentially might be other than the Joker. I was thinking maybe what's his name? Jervis Tetch, the Mad Hatter.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He's kind of crazy enough, and they've never done him on screen, so it could be potential. The thing that is
sorry. Just had a thought. Yeah, sorry. I had two thoughts. Scarecrow might be too soon because again we had that in Nolan, but the original one I thought of was Dr. Pig.
Professor Pig.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, although he doesn't normally laugh maniacally. He normally squeals and makes a pig noise. But yeah, it's possible. I mean, there's look. I mean, a hyena-like laugh. Like we only associate it with the Joker because it's Batman. You know what I mean? But it could be a number of people. I think my personal take on this is probably knowing, as you said, knowing Warner Brothers, knowing the studio, knowing what they want. This is probably an after credits scene, and Barry has probably been cast as the Joker for the next film in the trilogy because they've already talked about doing. Pattinson's already talked about the fact that they want to do a trilogy. I would imagine this is going to be a similar setup to Batman Begins, where it's like, they'll have some unnamed prisoner in Arkham at the end of the film, and all you'll see is like a glimpse of him, and then it'll be a laugh. And then everyone will be like, "Oh, they're gonna do Joker! Oh, what a surprise!" Which I couldn't give any. I want Joker to have a rest. I really want him to have a rest. Yeah. I want him to. If they're going to do it, bring him in the third one. That's what I would like. Don't try and retread the Dark Knight path and have him in the second. It's not smart, but we'll see. Joker's the big bang, man. Joker's the main event. You want to build up to a Joker. You don't want to
build. Yeah,
exactly. You don't want to spaff a Joker in the second act. It's like it's not worth it. But there you go. Anyway, the next bit of Batman news, which leads us in quite nicely, is Matt Reeves has been talking about the plot and the general kind of way he wants things to go. I'm going to read this quote to you. It's a really interesting quote, and it maybe suggests possibly where this series is going in the future. So I will read this. He basically had this interview recently. I think he was on the press junket tour for the Batman, and somebody asked him what was going on. So he says, in my view, I just feel drawn to finding the grounded versions of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge in an interesting way to try and figure out how that could happen. Even the idea of something like Mr. Freeze, that is such a great story, right? I think there's actually a grounded version of that story, which could be really powerful and could be really great. I love the fantastical side of Batman, but this iteration, obviously, while being, to me, I think it is very faithful to the comics, but I don't think that this one is necessarily, it doesn't lean as hard into the fantastical, I guess. I think, to me, what would be interesting would be to try and unwind the fantastical and see, well, how could that make sense here? That's kind of my view. That's kind of how I see it. So this was when he was being asked about, obviously, out there villains like Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze and where he could see the genre going and where he could see this series of films going. You and I have spoken a lot about the Rogues Gallery and how we would like to see Mr. Freeze on screen. Yeah. I would love to see that, particularly in this kind of environment. But it's interesting that he said things that he said, like, fantastical things could be grounded and there's just a way around finding it. It makes me wonder, and could you potentially see him doing stuff with Poison Ivy or with the one I want to see, the one I definitely want to see the most is Clayface.
I thought of Clayface as well.
There you go, mate. There we go. You're on the same, you and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah, just remember that when you're moving over to Undisputed Anime.
Yeah, I get the vibe that Matt Reeves is the type of guy that would refer to Poison Ivy as Pamela. Like, he very much deconstructs them, and as we've seen already with Penguin and the Riddler, he deconstructs them to an element and then shapes them in a different way. Because I mean, I know some people didn't like the look of the Riddler, but I really like this look because I could rest the green suit with the bowler hat and the cane and everything else.
Well, you're hot into your BDSM as well, aren't you? So the fact that he's like all in straps and stuff, that's all that's what
up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what that's you every Saturday.
So fun. But
Exactly.
yeah, I guess I'm really hoping that he'll indulge more into those less popular ones like your Hushes and, like we said, Professor Pig and stuff, because those could really come alive in his world, I reckon.
Yeah, I think there's some villains that I think Professor Pig is a the only issue I have with Professor Pig, he works very well in a comic book scenario and also in a game scenario because he shows up in Arkham Knight, but he's kind of one note. You know, he is effectively a crazed doctor who just wants to kind of make everyone look like one of his Dolomites. It's like it's fine, but I think he's a side villain. You know, in the same way that Zaz has been a side villain in the Nolan trilogy and things like that. Like he's not really a main eventer. I hope this film does the Court of Owls. I really hope this film does the Court of Owls because they are. Yeah. It makes sense. Like all the stuff that they've been pointing to seems to be the Court of Owls is telling. I think Penguin's going to be a side note in this. I think Penguin's going to take on the Scarecrow-esque scenario that Cillian Murphy was in the Nolan trilogy. It's working for a higher power, but not just that. But like, Batman's rogue gallery is so massive, and the villains go all the way from main eventers like the Joker right down to Quilt Man. And you know, it's I think there's always, I like the idea of Batman constantly waging this war on the streets where there's always, like, Gotham is a place where there's always something bad going on, and it's just a variety of bad. Like, it's a differing degree of bad. Like, it seems like from what we've seen from the trailers and from everything, the Riddler is not the big bad in this. He's a bigger bad than the Penguin, who seems like he's just an arms dealer. I predict like that Penguin sequence is probably going to be the first 25 minutes of the film. I think we'll open with Riddler killing someone, then it'll be the Penguin sequence where Batman takes down Penguin, and then it'll be all Riddler into Court of Owls, which will be the final quarter of the film. That's how I'm seeing it play out in my head based on what I've seen from the trailers. And that's cool, man. I like it. I would kill to see a Mr. Freeze story played out, because it's Victor Freeze is such a, you know, his character is incredible, and like there's so many layers of depth to him. You know, why does he do what he does? Like, is it really all for Nora, or is there something more to him? You know, it's like it's fascinating to do that. Clayface, I definitely want to see. I think Clayface is not been utilized at all, and should be. You know, we've seen him in Gotham, where he had a putty face. Great, cool.
I didn't know they used him in Gotham. I thought he'd be too expensive to CGI.
They didn't CGI him. That was the whole point. Okay. It was literally like all he had. He couldn't change his body. He could just change his face, and he could make his face look like someone else. That was it. Gotham has a lot to answer for. So anyway, but yeah, cool. Let us know what you guys think. Would you like to see some fantastical villains be grounded? Would you like to see some more realistic villains, maybe? Or would you like to see them go balls to the wall crazy and just bring in Killer Moth? The last bit of Batman news on here was to say that it has officially been confirmed that the Batman will be released in China.
Oh.
The reason why this is crazy is it's going to be the first ever Batman movie to be released in China. There's a lot of reasons why, including kind of the bat being a sacred symbol over there and that kind of thing, and issues around it. However, normally films that get released over in China are normally the billion breakers. They're normally the ones that crack, you know, they normally are the ones that crack a billion and head very, very high up the charts. Can you see this Batman movie being potentially the next Spider-Man No Way Home? which incidentally wasn't released in China, funnily enough.
It's that I think I saw this week though. It did surpass Avatar, didn't it, in its numbers?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think IGN reported it.
Are you talking about domestically?
Potentially. I have no idea. I just know it did better numbers.
So Avatar has earned worldwide over $3 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
I think domestically speaking, I think Spider-Man has beaten it domestically in the American box office, but worldwide it's still a very, very long way off.
But yeah.
The only film that has ever beaten Avatar was Avengers Endgame. And then James Cameron was so annoyed by it, he re-released Avatar in China and it went to number 1 again.
Yes, you're right. It is the domestic. I can't talk. Yeah.
No, I know you can't.
Box
You never
office.
can. Bubba.
No, I know. Always tongue-tied me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's beating it in that box office.
In the domestic box office, yes. It's the highest grossing domestic box office release ever. Box office, I'm doing it now. It's spreading. God. But yeah. No, I mean, but I'm fascinated to see how much money the Batman will make. Because it is.
Yeah.
It is. I think it is very violent from what I can gather. They've made it quite a violent film. So I'm not sure if it's rated R in the States or not, but that's normally like a 15 over here, which for a Batman film is quite surprising. But we shall see. Right. Palate cleanser time.
Okay.
We're moving away from all things. Well, actually, this is a lie. It's not really moving away from it because it's still technically DC related. But we're talking about someone from The Boys. So,
cool.
Jensen Ackles. He's going to be playing Soldier Boy in The Boys. And he's also apparently developing a supernatural prequel called The Winchesters because he didn't get enough after 18 seasons of Supernatural.
And an anime series.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently, this was shared via Screen Rant.
Okay.
It has come out, and he did reveal this a little bit back in January. But apparently, he has a number of good working partners in Hollywood, and one of them is a guy called Greg Berlanti.
Yes.
Apparently, this year's SXSW event, there is a listing for the actor that notes that he is apparently, well, this is what it says. Jensen is also developing an untitled DC project with Greg Berlanti.
Oh.
Now, he said back in January, there's a DC property that I'm currently developing right now with Warner Brothers and some other good partners that I've got my fingers crossed for. Thing is, nobody knows what the hell it is. And there's nothing. So this is a speculation piece, Zane.
Okay.
What would you like to see Jensen Ackles do as a DC thing? Are we going to see him doing Red Hood? Are we going to see him doing Green Lantern? What do you think it could be?
Wow. He'd
be a damn good Green Lantern. I'm just saying right now, by the way. He'd be really good as Hal Jordan. He'd be amazing as Hal Jordan. Yeah, he'd be great at it.
Never really thought of that.
No, I never thought of it either. He could also be really good as Guy Gardner as well, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm thinking, yes, Red Hood makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. There was a rumor going around for a long time that there was going to be a Gotham Knights series.
Yes.
So I wonder if that could be something like,
possibly,
sort of teen drama of Red Hood, Nightwing, Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon sort of thing.
Barbara Gordon,
yeah. You heard me right.
Oh yeah, that famous Batgirl, Barbara Gordon.
For a second there, I nearly went full West Country accent and went Barbara Gordon.
Oh, hello there, my lovely.
You know who are Barbara?
Delicious Barbara.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess Red Hood makes a lot of sense. Or maybe you go supernatural, that's his wheelhouse, and do Supernatural
do
Constantine again.
Yeah. No, I could. I mean, I don't know. There's been a lot of rumors about Blue Beetle as well, and Booster Gold. Maybe it'll be a Booster Gold project. I can see him being
like
Booster
a
Gold actually.
TED version of Blue
Ted
Beetle.
Cord, Blue Beetle,
Yeah.
Which is my favorite version of Blue Beetle. But there you go. Yeah. Anyway, watch this space. Jensen Ackles is doing something DC related, guys, and apparently it's coming out soon. So. Let's whip on to the Marvel news. Now, you mentioned it earlier on, Zane. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had its latest blockbuster trailer, which I tried to avoid and got flooded with spoilers. Would you be surprised to hear, Zane, that this trailer that was released during the Super Bowl was the most watched trailer of the Super Bowl releases? Are you surprised?
No. I am
What
not
is surprising to me is the number of, well, I'll run through the list of, this is the, so as far as the kind of streaming combined 24 hours social media activity and growth, Doctor Strange was ahead, but not by much. It was really close. So it's tallying it with like millions. So it's tallying it in the millions over a 24-hour social media and basically hype growth.
Yeah.
So Doctor Strange got 93.12 million in terms of views and all this kind of jazz. Yeah, exactly. Jurassic World Dominion was second with 86 million. 86 million.
What?
I know, right? Second. It was not far off when you think about that. It was like only like 6 or 7 million off. It was not far off. Very closely behind Lord of the Rings on Prime with 80 million.
Wow.
So the top three were 93 million for Doctor Strange, 86 million for Jurassic World Dominion, and 80 million for Lord of the Rings. And then it drops right down. Then it's the Adam Project, which was the Ryan Reynolds film, which was 32 million. Nope by Universal, which was 21 million. Marry Me, 16 million. Uncharted, which was 12 million. So Sonic 2, which was 11 million. Moon Knight was 9 million.
Okay.
Which but you say okay, but think about that for a minute. Like in a 24-hour period, a character that is completely unknown. I mean, completely unknown. There's never been a Moon Knight representation whatsoever. 9 million in 24-hour period. That's just based on Marvel strength alone. But yeah, no surprise with the number one. But I have to say those numbers did surprise me when I saw what was 2 and 3 and how close it was in terms of kind of hype.
But then I was kind of expecting there was that DC package. I know it came out a couple of days before, but I think it got shown during the Super Bowl, and it was like clips of Aquaman, Black Adam, and
it was that's looking at basically new stuff over the Super Bowl period.
Right, right.
But I mean, Jurassic World Dominion, like almost beat Doctor Strange. I think it's because the original cast is coming back.
I was going to say,
because it's got Goldblum and Alan Grant, Sam Neill. Sam Neill. Whenever I say the word Sam Neill, I immediately think of Event Horizon, when he just goes, "We don't need eyes where we're going." I don't know why it always comes into my head every time. It's like Lawrence Fishburne going, "What have you done to your eyes? We won't need eyes where we're going."
So at the moment, like Jurassic Park is being carried by Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill.
And Laura Dern as well. She's awesome.
And Laura Dern, not Chris Pratt and.
Yeah, it's weird. Chris Pratt's star seems to have faded a little bit in recent. Ever since, I don't know whether it's just a stigma. I've got no. Before I say this sentence, I have no views on any kind of religious beliefs or anything like that. Believe what you want to believe, as long as it's kind of like within reason. But like ever since he came out as kind of like a diehard Christian, his star seems to have faded a little bit. It's kind of weird because I mean he's still great as Star-Lord, and I personally loved Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec. That's how I got to know Chris Pratt before he was Star-Lord, and You know, Andy
Yeah.
in Parks and Rec is still one of the funniest characters ever. So yeah, it's just strange. He doesn't get as much. You think about 2014, and he was everywhere.
Yeah, he was.
Everywhere.
I remember the rumors about him being Indiana Jones at one stage.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, what's he doing next apart from Guardians 3 and I guess he's
Garfield.
Is he doing Garfield? No.
Yeah, Garfield and Super Mario Brothers, where he plays as Mario.
Moving on. Moon Knight. We mentioned Moon Knight very quickly there. I'm just going to completely glaze over all of that. So, Moon Knight. We're going to talk about Moon Knight. Oscar Isaacs has been opening his lovely mouth, and he's been talking to Empire Online. I saw a thing the other day with Oscar Isaacs and Pedro Pascal doing like Wired's like internet questions. Honestly, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It's one of the most wholesome videos you'll ever watch because the two of them clearly love each other, and it's amazing. And I want that kind of friendship in my life, Zane. But anyway, he's been talking to Empire Online, and he's obviously he's no stranger to the Marvel movies. After all, he played the famous Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. And he was talking to Empire Online, and this is what he had to say, admitting about his previous Marvel experiences and the Star Wars trilogy, and saying that he apparently considered walking away from big franchises until Moon Knight came along. So he said, often on these big movies, it can feel like you're building the plane on the runway. The idea of getting back to handmade films, inverted commas, handmade films, character studies, I was desperate for that feeling. And Moon Knight, it kind of felt handmade. And it's the first, and this is an interesting quote that we'll talk about. It's the first legitimate Marvel character study since Iron Man. I thought, maybe I can hijack this thing. Maybe this is the chance to do something really effing nutty on a major stage. And what I love the most about this thing is that it's an exploration of the mind that doesn't know itself. A human being that doesn't know his own brain. I found that really moving, what the mind is capable of as far as survival, but the workload was massive. The technical challenge of embodying these different characters physically, the way I manifest my body, it required a lot of energy. So, the thing I want to pick up with you there, it's the first legitimate Marvel character study since Iron Man. Would you agree with that, Zane?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay. I would also not agree with that. I'm thinking about WandaVision, I think, was an excellent character study in terms of grief and how to deal with grief. I think it was fantastic, and it expanded the character wonderfully. I also think Loki was also another incredible character study of how a person who is fundamentally evil can be changed for good under the right circumstances. I don't agree with that sentence. I am extremely excited to see Moon Knight, though.
Very much so. Same, yeah. I think I've heard this thing quite a lot recently where certain actors really want characters that haven't been portrayed before. So, for example, I remember Jake Gyllenhaal mentioning that he didn't want to do a villain that someone else had done before him because he would have to try to outperform them in some way. So that's why he really liked the idea of Mysterio, because he'd get to, give his own personality onto that character. And I guess in the same way, Robbie Downey Jr. did that with Iron Man. Like, it's become so impressionable now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I'm aware of Robbie Downey Jr., as you just called him. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I completely agree with you. I think there's a reason why nobody's been Wolverine since Hugh Jackman. It's a huge shadow to fill, and some of these actors, they do leave rather looming shadows. You do notice that Batman as well is another example of that. Batman right now is hot as hell, so that's why the studio keeps churning them out. But after Clooney, it took almost 10 years to cast another Batman. Christopher Reeve, we didn't get another Superman for 20 plus years until Brandon Routh took it on. I mean, obviously there's the new, Lois and Clark on New Adventures of Lois and Clark, or whatever it was. Dean Cain did it very well, actually. By the way, underrated Superman Dean Cain is. I enjoy Dean Cain in that show.
Absolutely, yeah.
He doesn't get enough credit. Welcome to our top 5 Superman we love. But no, I agree with that. I think there is something to be said about putting your own spin on a character that's never been done before. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see Moon Knight. I genuinely think Moon Knight could be the sleeper hit of this year. I really do. I think it could come out to be one of the best things that we've seen. So I'm excited. But speaking of TV shows that are coming out, this is an exciting thing to read. Loki season 2, my friend. It is beginning production later this year. It is on the way. We've already had Mr. Wow himself, Owen Wilson, confirmed that he's coming back as Mobius and Mobius.
Ooh.
Deadline is reporting. Apparently, Deadline is reporting that Moon Knight and the Twilight Zone helmers Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead are going to be directing the series.
Okay.
So the same directors who are doing Moon Knight and the Twilight Zone, the recently revamped Twilight Zone from Jordan Peele, they're going to do Loki. I don't know about you. That got me super hyped when I read that. I was like, yes, we're going to go trippy as balls, Loki. That's what I want to see. I want to see crazy time dilation madness in Loki. That's what I want to see. Yes. So thoughts on that, Zadie boy?
That's cool. I haven't seen the Twilight Zone, so I'm not familiar with their work, but that sounds amazing, though. I'm excited to see where they'll go with Loki too. Obviously, we know the effects of the first season kind of changed the Marvel universe as we know it. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool. I can't wait. Exciting news that they're going to do. They're doing. It's interesting that those directors seem to have a very interesting way of looking at things. The Moon Knight take, from what I've seen on the trailers, looks fascinating. Really good. And then the Twilight Zone's all right. It's not amazing, but the artistic style of it is very interesting. So I'm super excited to see it. I'm super excited. So final bit of news this week. This was where the idea for fan casting the Avengers came from. So Feige was being interviewed this week, and he was talking about a bunch of stuff. Now, some fans have taken this as the sign that, we're not going to see the Avengers anymore. But this is the direct quote, and we can speculate after I've read the quote. Marvel Studios, this is from Feige himself. Marvel Studios and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now past their 10th anniversary, and with the release of the final Avengers movie, we finally completed a 22-movie Infinity Saga. Yeah. A lot of people have taken that comment of the final Avengers movie as there will be no more Avengers, that it's done. I don't know what to make of this, because I can actually see them being done with the Avengers, because you and I have had that conversation many times about how can you redo the Avengers now. But what are your thoughts on that, Zany boy? Are they going different routes like Defenders and Gotham Knights, as we talked about?
Yeah, I think they'll probably focus around a team. That's the one thing that we all look forward to now, is not only do we get excited about variants and certain variants meeting other variants, but the whole idea of certain teams crossing paths, of course X-Men meeting Avengers has been something speculated for years. But I feel like something like a Fantastic Four is the big, the movie that brings it all together, fixes the multiverse, fixes everything. You know what I mean? That feels like the direction. Or 100%. A sword movie, that kind of vibe, I guess. But my
theory on this is maybe this is the last time we see regular Avengers, and now they're going to go into the Secret Avengers. They're going to go into the Cosmic Avengers, or
the new Avengers.
the new Avengers, precisely,
Yeah.
exactly. Much like James Bond Jr., Avengers Jr. is a niche reference.
Young Avengers.
Oh yeah, Young Avengers. That's what they're called. But yeah, I just wanted to shoehorn in a James Bond Jr. reference. That's what it was. James Bond Jr.
That was a kick-ass opening.
Great. It was the best. It's a shame about the actual show, but the opening was fantastic. But yeah, I don't think they're done with the Avengers. I think they're done with what the Avengers look like. I think it will be a different, and I think we won't hear the name the Avengers for a very long time. I'm trying to think of other West Coast Avengers. I'm trying to think of other like teams. Obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy. What other teams are there? Defenders, Guardians of the Galaxy,
Space Jammers.
God, I hope they don't use that name.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
It's really hard to think of any like
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. That's a good shout. Oh God, I can't. My brain has just gone completely blank.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, let us know, guys. What do you think might be some of the teams coming up for Marvel if they're not going with the Avengers anymore, and what we're going to see? But yeah, that's the end of the news. Sorry, it's been a long one this week, guys. I apologize, but there was a lot to cover, as you can tell. Hey, we're just enjoying ourselves on a Friday night, right?
We're having a good chat.
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
What wasn't having a good time was trying to come up with a list of fan castings for the Illuminati that Zane made me do. I mean, I'm going to say right now, the Avengers one I did very quickly. Like I literally did the Avengers one in like 5 minutes, and I'm not going to lie, I did take some of my casting from the Avengers one and reorganize them into the Illuminati one because Iron Man I definitely could do.
I had the same thought.
But yeah, I just want to, I just want to kind of like just say that this was a ball ache of a list to come up with.
It was tricky. Yeah.
When you think about some of these characters, is how the hell do you recast bloody Iron Man and Doctor Strange? How the hell do you do that? Looks like they've done it with Tom Cruise, right?
Should we run through who, as in like our version of the Illuminati? Because there's been very different interpretations over the years. So
we went with the first one, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, I kind of did a mix. So we decided to go for Charles Xavier, Namor, Black Bolt, Reed Richards, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange.
Oh, we had Black Panther as well, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I mean, okay, you're going first. Whilst I try to think of a Black Panther one. Black Panther wasn't in that picture you sent me.
No, but he's in other versions. He's in it, but then you don't have Xavier. You have Beast, and I thought it'd be fun to. That's
why I said to you was at the first iteration because that's the one that fires Hulk into. Because that's the first time they showed up was when they fired Hulk into space. So I thought that's.
But then,
okay. All right, go on. You go first. You start.
I'll go first then.
Who will we go with?
Let's go with Xavier. So for Xavier,
I got a beauty for Xavier. You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
go on.
So for who I decided to go for, I was thinking, let's stick with the British actor. Let's someone slightly more older, and they have to have a certain charisma about them. So much so because at the end of the day, Xavier is the foundation for the school, the mutants, X-Men, and dare I say, he's kind of the narrator in some of these movies. But I decided to go with Ralph Fiennes as Xavier.
Okay.
Old Voldemort himself.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he's very good in Kingsman. So, he carries off that kind of gravitas. Yeah, that could work.
I was thinking, like, who can do the sort of father figure like that, like you said, after seeing Kingsman, I was like, he's an amazing sort of emotional, like, compassionate father, which is completely opposite of what we got with old Voldemort. But
Yeah. No, I could definitely. I can see that. I can see that working. That'd be. Yeah, that's an interesting choice, dude. I hadn't even thought about Ralph Fiennes.
Mm.
The only problem with Ralph Fiennes is every time I think of him, I only think of him in I can only think of him in Red Dragon for some reason. I know he's an incredible actor who's been in lots of different things, but he was the Red Dragon in the Hannibal Lecter film Red Dragon. So I've just got this image of him with like a weird cleft palate, and not saying the cleft palates are weird, it's just in that film he looks weird, and biting off someone's lips in that film. So
wow.
That's what comes to mind with. So I struggle to think of kindly Professor Charles Xavier as the Red Dragon. But that is a really good shout. That is a really good shout. Yeah, I guess he's kind of showed some of that kind of leadership as well when you watch things like James Bond, No Time to Die. Yeah, exactly, because he's M, obviously.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. Would you see him as a one piece, like as a that sounded weird, not like a one, I don't mean like a bikini, I mean like could you see him just kind of like as a recurring character in many films, or would it just be like a variant one-off Illuminati?
Yes, I don't know, I haven't really thought that far ahead, because the thing, as we've always mentioned, is Professor X needs to be Professor X at some stage. He has to be nerfed, or else the story can't progress.
No, that's true. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as we're sticking with Professor X, I'll give you my hot take. You've already seen it because I've just sent you through a link to the picture, because you've put a picture up without telling me we were doing pictures. So he's really just done me this week, guys. Honestly, you can tell he's devoted to Undisputed Anime. This is it. He's done me completely. But my choice for Professor X, what do you need when you think of Professor X? Right, you need somebody who he looks good sitting down. He's bold, and he's got gravitas in his voice. So I have picked Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad. Now, obviously, the image that people are looking at right now is him as Walter White in Breaking Bad. But imagine the goatee gone.
Yeah,
I mean, he is the kind of actor who could, I believe. I mean, obviously, he'll put on a British accent because it's Bryan Cranston. He can do whatever he wants. But I believe he's got the right weight and gravitas to bring to Professor Xavier, especially with his voice and the way he carries himself. I think he could be a fantastic Professor Xavier. He's also proven that he could be quite kind and nurturing in those roles, in the sense of like the beginning of Breaking Bad. He's a teacher. He's very, very welcoming. He's very, kind to his family and all this other kind of stuff. But then if you wanted to turn it into some dark side stuff, like for instance, the Onslaught saga, or, just do some crazy out there stuff with him in the Shadow Realm. This guy's got range. This guy's got huge range. So I think he'd be fantastic as Professor X, either variant or recurring.
Yeah, I can see why you've gone for that, and it's not just because of the bald head. He is a fantastic actor. One thing I thought about as well is how well they'll act when they're going crazy about Magneto or about Jean going wild. So I was like, imagine Ralph Fiennes screaming Jane, like
exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
Walter White screaming
Jane.
Be amazing. Yeah, pulls you in. Also, that wouldn't be the first time he's played a similar role, because let's not forget, he played a Zordon in the Power Rangers movie.
Right.
A floating bald head.
So he's got the gravitas to be stuck in one place. And let me tell you, this man can do it. This man's got the talent. So yes, there you go. That's my Professor X pick.
Wow.
I really don't. You've really stymied me with this Black Panther thing at the last minute. I'm really struggling to think of someone. I hate you for this thing.
Go on. In the separate message.
I said, who are the Illuminati? And you sent me a picture. You sent me a picture of the Illuminati without Black Panther in. And then you went, and sometimes maybe Black Panther. How is that telling me that we're going to do that? Right. Anyway, carry on.
Okay. Who's next on my list? I wrote this all on a post-it note, by the way. Okay, yeah, you'll like this one.
Okay, go on.
1
Who
second.
are we doing? Who is it?
Namor.
Character. Namor. Oh, that's another good one for Namor. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure it is. I mean, I think it's good. Would you like me to go first as you're just as
I got it.
a
I got it.
shambles?
I got it. Don't worry. Don't you worry. So for Namor, I decided to go with. Here you go. Daniel Henney.
Okay, it's an interesting choice as I know nothing about this actor. So enlighten me.
So Daniel Henney, I believe, I'm just trying to think of his sort of most popular role. I believe he's in Wheel of Time. What was the last thing that you may have seen? That's it. That's why I remembered him. He is Agent Zero in X-Men Wolverine.
Yes, that's where I recognize him from. He's from the thing I've tried to erase from my memory. Thanks for bringing that back in there. Cheers for that, Zane. Yes,
no
of course.
problem. So yeah, we're giving Daniel Henney a second chance, like a lot of Marvel actors. Let's not forget Chris Evans had a second chance, and he did incredible things.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. What do you think makes him fitting of the Namor moniker?
So you may not know this, but Daniel Henney does a lot of modeling, and I thought, well, if he's going to woo Sue Storm, he's got to be a good-looking guy, and have that sort of swimmer-like bod. So yeah, I just thought his like look just kind of matched the Namor sort of high cheekbone sort of.
Right. What I'm glad about with that pick is that you have taken exactly the same train of thought that I have when it comes to casting Namor, which is basically. So when I thought about casting Namor, I thought to myself, I'm gonna swear. I apologize. Handsome bastard who's an absolute dick. That's what I thought of when I'm casting Namor. Now. Would you like to talk some more about your choice, or would you like me to go on to mine?
I'm really eager to see your choice now. Well,
my choice, I'm going to have to find a picture to send you to properly represent exactly what I'm thinking. There we go. We'll do a nice smoldering look. But when I was thinking about handsome men who have the opportunity to be absolute bastards, I thought of this man. This would be another second chance in terms of Marvel casting. But my pick for Namor is Michael Fassbender. And let me tell you why, Zane. 2 reasons. First of all, this man is on my list of men. Good God almighty, is he handsome. He is a stud of a man. I mean, we don't need to describe his acting chops. He is an incredibly talented actor. He's been in such, I mean, obviously he's Magneto in the X-Men franchise, so there is that. However, his work in Alien or Alien Covenant and Prometheus, he's easily the thing that people actually would watch that movie for. His portrayal as David is cold, calculating bastardery of the highest order, which is what you need when you're casting Namor, because Namor does not give a monkeys about surface-dwelling monkeys. He only cares about Atlanteans. Whilst you are also correct, you need somebody who can be that romantic interest for the soon-to-be cast Emily Blunt as Sue Storm.
Yes.
Let's face it, it's going to happen. And I can't. When I was in my head, I was thinking about just the look. We've already seen him in 300 with his shirt off, as well as other things. He's got the bod. Let's face it, he's got the bod to be able to pull it off. He's got that swim bod. Yeah, he's got the rig. If there's one man who can put tiny wings on his ankles and make it look masculine, it's Michael Fassbender. And I think it could be excellent. Plus, it will give him the good dynamic of, being able to kind of be that persecuted kind of, the persecution of the Atlanteans and play into all that kind of thing. I think he'd be fantastic as it personally. And so that's my choice.
That's a great pick. Fantastic actor. I'm surprised by that, but pleasant.
Yes. And and if there's one thing that casting directors are looking for, it's fantastic actors, but pleasant.
But also pleasant.
Yes. All right. What's next?
I've got Black Bolt lined up.
Okay. My Black Bolt is a bit of a wild card.
So I nearly went. It was one of two ways when I was thinking of Black Bolt, and I'll tell you the first way because it was crazy. So the first idea I had was cast Vin Diesel as Black Bolt.
Okay.
He's got the look. He's got the presence. Doesn't have to say a lot because we already got him as Groot, which is a nice sort of double entendre, sort of thing. But I was like, let's face it, he's
not sure you know what double entendre means, but that's fine. Yes, I understand. There's a nice contrast to it. Yes.
Yeah, let's say that contrast. But I thought he's not the Vin Diesel of 20 years ago.
No.
So saying that, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have drum roll, share screen. Alan Richardson as Black Bolt. Now, you may recognize Alan from the new Jack Reacher TV show, Hank as Hawk and Dove in the Teen Titans or Titans show. He's done a load of DC stuff in the past. He played as Aquaman in Smallville. He also played as Raphael in the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Why the hell would you bring those two examples up? Don't bring those two examples up. First of all, that Aquaman was awful. Again, I was it was awful. Then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones, the Michael Bay, the big turtle tanks that were in the Michael Bay, ridiculous. Yeah, you should have finished at Hawk from Teen Titans, because yes, he's amazing as Hawk in that. As he's very, the duality of Hawk is very good in that, because he's obviously struggling with alcoholism and other and addictions. So yes, that's really good. That's a really good choice, actually, to be honest with you, mate. That's I hadn't even come into my stratosphere of thoughts when it came to Black Bolt. The only thing I'm slightly concerned at with him is, do you think, because the thing about Black Bolt is he is very physically imposing, because he needs to be, because he doesn't talk, because obviously if he talks he will kill everyone within a certain radius. But do you think that this guy could come across with the physically imposing nature that is needed in order to convey emotions for Black Bolt? Absolutely.
Just because the new series he stars in, Jack Reacher, the whole premise of him being this, larger figure than they can handle is just crazy. Like, he said in recent interviews that he had to gain 80 pounds of muscle, which is bananas in its own right. But when you watch the show, he has this presence where, due to his size and his stature, he takes up a room. You just constantly drawn to him, sort of thing. So I think just from his, as I say, his presence, he can really, I guess, convey that. Even if he is wearing a bizarre costume that may have little wings and a tiny silver bit on the forehead,
Yes, interesting. No, I like that. That's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty good. That one. I hadn't even. I hadn't even considered him. That's a dark horse that you've picked there. That's very good. You're gonna love my pick for this. This is gonna send you over the top. So, speaking of drawing attention to the room and bringing attention to them as they enter. Now, I'm gonna proviso this with that. This is interchangeable with two people. So I did pick two people for this. And first of all, I went with you, and I was like Vin Diesel. I firmly believe 100% that back in 2013, 2014, I am 99% sure that they had actually cast Vin Diesel to be Black Bolt. I am 100% positive, because at the time they were going to make an Inhumans movie. There was going to be an Inhumans movie on the slate, and he made a Twitter announcement at that time saying, "Sometimes I feel like Marvel just expect me to be Inhuman." When he was talking about being Groot at the time, but like everyone was like, he's been cast as Black Bolt, and then they're like, do Groot in the meantime just to keep yourself busy. And then obviously after the disaster from Bob Iger of the Inhumans on TV and all that other kind of stuff, it never materialized. Anyway, so speaking of physical dominance and physical people who are so you can't take your eyes off them when they're in a room, they're like, oh my god, is that person human? I don't know, but my god, look at him. With that in mind, you also need quite a structured jawline because of the way that Black Bolt is inside the cowl. Not to mention the fact you don't necessarily need him to say something, but you need him to be quite expressive with his body. Now, Zane, you and I know there are no more expressive peoples with their bodies than wrestlers. So, my pick for Black Bolt is Mr. You can't see him yourself, John Cena.
Wow, what a pick.
Why would I pick John Cena? First of all, he is a great talker. There's no two ways about that. But he's also proven with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, as well as Bumblebee, he's quite a good actor. Surprisingly enough, he's actually really good at acting. He doesn't necessarily need to speak to convey his emotions. He has a very expressive face. And I think he could have quite an expressive face beneath the cowl, especially as you've seen a toilet seat on his head in Peacemaker.
And wrestling matches.
And obviously, let's be frank. For those of you who are looking on YouTube right now, he's easily got the bod for it. I think he could be a really, and also he's not been in anything Marvel previously. He's been a DC boy. This could be, the first iteration. I almost, my brain went between him and The Rock. So I was also thinking of The Rock. I think The Rock would be, for lack of a better word, too big. To be Black Bolt. And I think everyone wants to hear The Rock's voice, But a John Cena imposing figure that says very little, and when he does say stuff, destroys everything, I think would be great. And I think it would work.
Do you know what's crazy? I can see him in the cowl. Like you said, it's that jaw and chin combination that just kind of easily fits into that Black Bolt sort of mask.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can very much see it.
Yep. So that's my pick for old BB.
Nice. I like that.
Blackagar Boltagar, which is his actual name. Ridiculous. What were you thinking, Marvel? Were you high when you named him? What the hell are you doing?
Was that
I'm not joking.
Kirby?
That is his name, Blackagar Boltagar. That is really his name.
I don't think I could ever try to pronounce that.
Part of me really wants to get some unfortunate racial slur or something from you trying to pronounce that on the street.
Okay, so
moving on quickly.
Moving on. So, Mr. Fantastic. Now, we spoke about this just before going live, that neither of us have selected John Krasinski.
Yes.
I
should point out, by the way, guys, we don't know what we've picked. We don't know what each other has picked. Yeah. So there may be some cross. We should have explained that at the top of this. We have no idea what the other person has picked. So these are all new to both of us. So in case you couldn't tell from our genuine surprise, we were like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, there could be some crossovers here, just a heads up. So yeah,
taking John Krasinski out of the equation, I think this is going to be really interesting to see what we've both picked. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with my pick, but I did get stuck on this for a little wee while because I was kind of like, they need to be intelligent. They need to convey that they're intelligent, and they can easily get fixated on projects and science and things of that nature. But at the same time, they still need to be. They have to have a warmth to them, so that you do. Because let's face it, like people love Mr. Fantastic. He, sort of thing. Yeah, it's probably not as big as he used to be, I guess.
It's not just that. It's, I mean, when you talk about he's kind. Well, yeah. Okay, we'll get onto this. You carry on. Sorry.
So I thought of a younger actor, and I thought of someone again who could play that high intelligent role. And the person that I decided to go for is Penn Badgley. Now.
Ooh.
Penn Badgley, for those who are listening, you may recognize from Netflix hit TV show You, where it's about this guy who gets fixated on a girl. He's a bookstore owner, but he's fixated on books and the stories of love, and he's trying to find his true love, sort of thing. And he creepily like stalks women and paints these sort of personas about them, sort of thing. When they don't meet his certain expectations, he turns into a bit of a psycho. But that whole idea of him being this high mind sort of fixated person, I thought would be really cool. And he's got a good beard as Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic doesn't need a beard, but I appreciate that. That's a really good choice. Yeah. That's an excellent choice. Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I think for me, Mr. Fantastic is a he's kind of this is probably going to be a bit divisive what I'm going to say here. The idea he's the most intelligent man in the Marvel universe. Like he's more intelligent than Tony Stark. He is a genius. He is the premier thinker when it comes to the Marvel universe, as well as being old stretchy brain. But he also comes across incredibly aloof sometimes, and can in the comics can be represented as a bit of a dick. So I haven't seen You. I need to see it, but like this is a really good choice. This is an excellent choice, in fact. But you need someone who can be likable whilst also being incredibly dislikable at the same time, and being somewhat of an arrogance to him because nobody can outthink him. And he's theoretically got the most attractive woman in the Marvel universe in Sue Storm as well. You know what I mean?
But at the same, like you say, almost like it can be seen as dickish that he doesn't give any attention to anything else around him besides like whatever he's fixated on, which is normally some sort of science project. So it's
excellent choice. Really, really good choice. It's going to blow my choice completely out of the water. So excellent choice. Yeah. So whilst we are sticking with the themes of redemption tonight, and we have seen various actors portray various things, I was thinking to myself, well, when you've got Reed Richards, you need someone. Let's say we're doing some variation thing here. We're looking at some Reed Richards that you wouldn't necessarily think. So what do I think of when I think of Reed Richards? Well, I think of stretchy, obviously. Nice. That aloofness, that arrogance that we were just talking about. Whilst also being kind of suave, kind of intelligent, but also salt and peppery. Salt and peppery is a very core element. So this is who I've picked, Zane. I'm going to send you the picture now, and then I'll announce it.
Oh my God.
I have picked the redemption of Mr. George Clooney.
Oh, no.
Now, let me explain my reasonings behind this. So we all know Clooney from Batman, famously one of the worst Batman. However, we have all said George Clooney made an excellent Bruce Wayne, but a terrible Batman. Now, for those of you who have seen Clooney's acting over the last, 15 years, he has improved dramatically. If you look at Geniuses, he featured, in the film Tomorrowland, which if you've never seen it, he was an eccentric genius who was kind of out there on the edge. And was very frayed, but a brilliant man. he has that aloofness, he has that arrogance that everyone can be like, oh, I just hate him, but I love him as well. Oh, as well as, you know, his roles in the Oceans film, like Ocean's 11,
That's true.
you know, shows him as a natural leader. And if you're Mr. Fantastic, the whole idea is you're leading the world pretty much. So I think he may be a bit too old for it now, but I think Clooney would make an excellent Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. I think he would be great. The only thing I'm concerned about is him being a little bit stretchy. Thoughts, Zane?
Now you've pleaded your case. I can see where you're coming from. I just don't know if he's going to be too suave as the professor. Like as the doctor, I should say. But yeah,
no, I agree. That's a risk. That is a risk. But you know, listen, when you've got that kind of salt and pepper, do you really care about being too suave? I mean, good God.
Yeah.
I want to say now, John Krasinski is the perfect casting for Mr. Fantastic. He's excellent. You know, he's really good. Your choice on this is much better than mine. I think like your choice is really good, especially from an unknown actor. But I think it's too easy to look at Clooney from his 1997, Batman and Robin run and all of his films around that time, and it's too easy to forget some of his films that he's done, you know, in the last 15 years, you know, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The Coen brothers film is incredible. Solaris is a really the remake of Solaris was a really good film. You know, as I said, Tomorrowland is a really good film as well if you haven't seen it. The Oceans trilogy, it's good. The Oceans trilogy is fantastic. You know, he's done some really he's a good actor. He is a really good actor. It's just unfortunately people remember him for sometimes some of the really bad that he did in his early career.
What was the TV show that found him, like where he played as a doctor? It was ER?
It was ER, yeah. I can't remember he was the one who got chopped in half by the helicopter. I don't think it was, but yeah. One of the best ways to go out on TV. All right.
Oh dear.
You'll be happy to hear that I've picked a Black Panther.
Okay, cool.
In the stretch of that amount of time.
I wonder if we got the same.
Probably.
Yeah. Iron Man.
Iron Man
was a tricky one for me again.
Yeah, no kidding. It was hard for me as well.
I probably spent the longest time on this one thinking about it. So again, I had to kind of break it down. What is it about Iron Man I like? It's the charisma. It's the believability that, you know, this is someone who can build a company, who can sell technology, essentially who is believable as the Iron Man, who could do the tragedy of demon in a bottle and, you know, but still be a bit of a dick and things of that nature.
Likeable as a dick.
Exactly. Who could show that emotional sort of scale with their acting. And I came to one conclusion.
I'm bracing myself. Here we go.
The conclusion was Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, I almost had. So that's very interesting. Gyllenhaal was almost my Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It was between two actors, and I picked the other one. Gyllenhaal was that close to being my Doctor Strange for pretty much the same reasons that you just gave as Iron Man. So that's fascinating that we both had almost the same train of thought with that. I mean, God, I love Jake Gyllenhaal so much. Go on, you carry on, mate. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's we're all familiar with Jake's performances in other movies and such, but I guess what kind of won me over is, of course, the Mysterio performance, because they do so much to kind of give you a peek at this guy who's so much like Tony in so many ways that it's the downfall of Spider-Man in that movie is that he projects so much of his own beliefs on Mysterio can be just like Iron Man, and I guess in a weird way we all did.
It's interesting. I mean, Quentin Beck is not anything like Iron Man in the books, but they definitely morphed him in the film to be like that. Yeah, he's a darker version of Iron Man, basically.
And I guess because we've seen, s- so much of that already, I thought this is an easy fit to kind of know, have an idea of what it would have been like to have Jake as Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been, I guess it would have been a wild bet at the time to kind of base the whole cinematic universe around him.
I mean, there's also something to say about the fact that he could technically be a variant of Iron Man.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that Quentin Beck in another reality couldn't have become Iron Man based around his role in the MCU. So, yeah, so it's a good choice. It's a good pick. I think the only thing that the only thing going against that is obviously if he's not a variant, I can't see him as anything other than Quentin Beck now.
Yeah.
Like that's the difficulty. Like it's. I think some of these castings were kind of like, if it's been a really bad role, it's like we can see Oscar Isaacs as Moon Knight because Apocalypse was awful.
Yes.
It's like I can see. Like it wasn't terrible, but like you can see Fassbender as Namor because the way Magneto went out in the last couple of films was not great. And this one, the only reason I'm kind of like bucking a little bit against it is the fact that like Mysterio was so good in the MCU, like so good. Far From Home is No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man film, but like Far From Home was easily my favorite before No Way Home because of primarily because of him. Because I love Jake Gyllenhaal so much.
I think that's the only thing missing from No Way Home was a Mysterio cameo, or in some shape or form. I would have loved, and that would have completed the Sinister Six from it. Sinister,
it's all gone wrong again. Sinister Six,
for me. So
yeah, he's just too cool, man. Gyllenhaal is too cool. Like he's just. He's on the list as well. Sexy bastard. Right. Sorry, I've sworn a lot. I apologize. Okay, so that's Well, I went down a very similar track as you, in terms of we're gonna look. Let's be frank. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. You can't. It's almost impossible to completely recast him. However, you can do different things with Tony Stark. You can do different ideas with Tony Stark. So I thought, well, why not go with a slightly younger Tony Stark? Take him back to his roots. Take him back to where he learned his trade. Take him back to the old industrial era Tony Stark, who was all about those weapons. Anyway, you need someone who's cool, who's suave, who's likable, but can also come across as a dick. So my choice for Tony Stark is he's been in DC. He's not yet been in Marvel. It's the famous child actor from Third Rock from the Sun, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Interesting pick.
I think he would be great. If you've seen his work in Inception, he plays really good as the intense thinker of the group. We know he can do action. I mean, he was in obviously Dark Knight Rises. He's been in like Looper, for example. And to say that he's got acting chops, I mean, God Almighty, he's the things that he's been in terms of kind of representing the dark side of things. He was in the film Brick, which is about cancer and the guy getting cancer, where he famously shaved his head for it. And he's a great actor. He's pretty sexy, has to be said. There's no going around it. Tony Stark has to have a certain element of sexiness in him, and he's believable enough as a arrogant genius. He could quite easily come across that way, and I think he would make an excellent Iron Man. Personally speaking, what do you think?
Interesting pick. Here's an odd thing. He looks very young, but I get the sense that he's not that young. No,
he's not. I think he's in his 40s now.
Yeah, that's what I would probably hazard a guess at. Interesting pick. Yeah, it's like you said. He is the thinker. Like you can get that easily from, like you said, his previous roles. CGI goatee.
I'm sure he's old enough to grow a goatee, Zane.
I mean, would it be a strong goatee though? That's the problem. Like,
how dare you? That's like suggesting you should CGI out Henry Cavill's mustache in Justice League.
I didn't know this till I think it was this week that apparently in a lot of Marvel movies they use wigs. Like,
Do they?
For those that don't need them. So, for example, like Chris Evans, like all of his appearances as Captain America, blonde wigs.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh, that's fascinating. Can we please take the picture of Joseph Gordon-Levitt down whilst we're talking about wigs? We're not suggesting that Joseph Gordon-Levitt wears wigs, guys.
But apparently it's a continuity thing. Apparently they want to keep the continuity, so
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, I think JGL could be very good as Plus, it's another triple name, RDJ. JGL, it nice. Makes. I think it fits. Who's next? Say.
We got Doctor Strange up next on the list.
Oh, we're saving Black Panther till last, are we?
I thought I'd give you some time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's all right. My Black Panther's sorted now, but that's fine. Yeah, let's do Doctor Strange.
Another tricky one, and I decided to, dare I say, play it safe by going for a British actor. Because I'm going to not say any more than that. But yeah, I thought I'd play it safe. I thought British actor who can do the, again, the salt and pepper, who can, I guess Doctor Strange can be quite vocal, because even though this version of Doctor Strange in the MCU, we haven't seen him do a lot of incantations.
Do a lot of,
incantations and, chant spells. But I kind of thought, who has a good voice for that? Who can have a good presence? Who could carry off a cape, as ridiculous as it may be with a big collar?
Okay, I'm bracing myself for this one.
I think you might like this one. I decided to go for share screen. There we go. Luke Evans as Doctor Strange.
That is an excellent choice. That is an annoyingly excellent choice, because I wish I'd thought of it. Yeah.
Previous roles include Dracula. He was Gaston in Beauty and the Beast recently. He also played famously Bard in the Hobbit movies.
Yep. That's fantastic. That is a fantastic casting choice. I don't even want to talk about mine now. That's brilliant.
He's also got a good rig. From
he's got a hot bod. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, guys, that's the end of this show. We're not going to talk about any more of my picks. That's it. It's done. He's blown me out of the water with that choice. I could not agree more. He's got incredible acting talent. He's got the perfect facial structure of Doctor Strange when you imagine Doctor Strange in the comics, more so than Cumberbatch even. I think he's probably better suited as Doctor Strange than Cumberbatch, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's amazing, Zane. I love that.
A lot of my friends would love to see him as Namor.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, he'd be all right as Namor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'd be cool as Namor, but I think as a Doctor Strange, that would be.
Oh yeah.
That would have been cool.
That would have been it. That would have been the it. Right. Okay. Well, let's get mine out of the way and done with then. So I just thought to myself, all right, who's suave and who's cool and who's a really good actor? Who needs some redemption in the MCU? Because frankly, he wasn't used very well. I guess let's just go with this guy because he's an amazing actor and he's brilliant. Let's go with Sam Rockwell.
Okay, I didn't see this coming.
Well, you'll see what I mean when you see the picture. Look at that. Look at that. If there's anything that says strung out wizard, it's this picture in front of you right now. look, Doctor Strange, as he's currently portrayed in the MCU, is a almost a mystic Tony Stark, in the sense of like,
Yeah.
they've portrayed him as extremely snarky, extremely quick-witted, and very intelligent. Rockwell's only had Justin Hammer to work with so far.
Yes.
Now picture this, if you will. Doctor Strange flying in with his living cape, but as he's flying in, you know what's coming. You know what's coming, don't you, Zane?
No.
As he's flying in, his legs are doing the Sam Rockwell dance. Huh? Ooh, come on. That's what we want to see. A Doctor Strange Sam Rockwell dance. That's what we want to see. All right. Come on. I mean, you totally want to see this, don't you?
The idea alone of Sam Rockwell just flying in, nearly
right. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, and we might have to put a copyright issue on this, but like, I've just posted you a clip to Sam Rockwell dancing on YouTube. There, Zane. Do you want to? You will have to mute it, but like, do you want to get that up and show us what the Sam Rockwell dance is like?
Give me a second. Yeah, I got it.
So I think he's, look, Sam Rockwell's an incredible actor. Like, he is an actor's man actor. Oh, here we go. Come on, hit us with it, Zane. This is what I want to see. Imagine him with a cape, right? And he comes flying in. There it is. That's what I want to see. Look at that. Guys, for those of you who are listening, his legs are flailing as if detached from his body, to quote Chandler Bing. Go and look up Sam Rockwell dance on YouTube if you want to know what that was.
Just watch Iron Man 2.
Or watch Iron Man 2. Yeah, he does it in Iron Man 2, doesn't he? But yeah, no, I think he is a terrific actor. Like, all joking aside, he is an amazing actor. I think he could quite easily look the part. It's not very hard to make him look like the part. And I wish I'd have gone first instead of you.
Oh yeah.
Right, Black Panther. Let's get this show wrapped up.
I got a feeling that
we picked the same one. That's what I wonder.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I don't think I really need to explain this one, but it's
Oh, we did not pick the same one. We did not. No.
It's
okay.
John David Washington that I've decided to go for.
Famous from
Tenet.
Tenet, thank you. Yes, I was going to say Nolan. I was going to say Twitch, but then he's not on. Yeah, Tenet, exactly. Ooh, good choice.
Yeah,
good choice.
Strong performing actor. And let's face it, like he has the same sort of acting skills that his father does. So, for those who don't know, his father is Denzel Washington. I could easily imagine him as.
And what a coincidence, because my pick was Denzel. No.
I could easily imagine him as T'Challa. Even if he played as a variant, I think it'd be very cool. And I think he's a strong candidate.
He probably would have been my number 2 choice.
Yeah.
When I was desperately looking for people, because I didn't realize we were doing Black Panther as well. Yes, great actor. His work in Tenet is exceptional. I'd like to see him in more things, is what I will say. I'd like to see him in more things before I choose him as a kind of as T'Challa. For me, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Black Panther are easily the hardest to fan cast, because they've been cast so well in the first instance. Your Luke Evans one is still blowing me out of the water with Doctor Strange. Fantastic casting. My pick for Black Panther, he's the actor of the moment. He's been in absolutely everything pretty much over the last year. But my pick for Black Panther to play T'Challa is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to explain this very much, to be honest with you. To talk about how talented this guy is. He's incredible. His work in the Candyman remake recently was really good. The film may not have been the best, but it was really good. Obviously, he was he was crazy bonkers as Morpheus in Matrix Resurrections. He's just got so much talent, like unbelievable talent. He has the physical imposition to be able to not only pull off T'Challa, but also, that sounded really wrong, not only to portray T'Challa, but also to portray Black Panther. And I think he's someone who could potentially outshine the shadow of Chadwick Boseman, which, let's face it, is going to loom very heavily over. I'm turning it to you. Yeah. I can't talk. It's going to loom very heavily over Black Panther from now on.
Yes. Yeah. See, originally I did think of him when fan casting, but how do I think for me, he's a great performer. I just don't know if he's a leading man yet, which is a crazy thought.
That's a horrible thought to have. He definitely is.
Because for me, when I thought about it, I thought, would he have been a great Killmonger against my David Washington? And that's where I was. Possibly. That's where my mind went. Because David Washington has this like cold, not silent performance about him. Like he doesn't need a lot of words to. I guess that's just the Tenet thing. That's the Tenet sort of impression.
Yeah,
but,
and that's the thing. That's the issue I have is I only know him from Tenet properly. So I'd need to see him in more things before I decide yay or nay. I know for a fact that this guy is amazing in some of the work that I've seen him in.
Yeah, I saw him in Watchmen where he played as Dr. Manhattan, and that was really cool.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, his role in Aquaman. But again, I guess that's. Aquaman has to be bombastic, doesn't it? That's why it's.
Do you know what? To be perfectly blunt with you, Zane, I completely forgot he was in Aquaman because I always forget Aquaman because it's the most forgettable of all the DC movies. There, I said it. Come at me, nerds. It's because Amber Heard's in it. I immediately forget about Aquaman.
His opening performance in that, where his father dies in his arms, it's incredible.
Yeah, his work as Black Manta is incredible. Like he's great. Like he's just really, really talented and really, really good. And I'm sure he'd make a good T'Challa. But yeah, there we go. We did it, Zane. We got through it. I feel traumatized and violated by having to pick the Illuminati. So how dare you do that to me, Zane? Zane Taicho.
So sorry.
How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
But that was our fan casting. Let us know in the comments down below. What did you think? Did you think we were right? Do you think we were wrong?
Do you want to hear my fan casting for Avengers, which I've got up here?
We'll save it for another.
You want to save it for another time, do you?
We'll save it for another episode.
Okay. All right. I'd put Ant-Man in as an extra. Do you want to hear my Ant-Man?
Did you? Because he was there.
Yeah, because he was exactly. I knew you'd get it. Do you want to hear who I picked?
Go on then.
Steve Carell.
Oh no, really?
And on that note, folks, thank you very much for listening. Zane, where can they get hold of us?
They can find us on Twitter, Instagram, at Undisputed Nerds. You can also find us on TikTok if you're into that. Of course, you can find us on YouTube, Undisputed Nerds Podcast on YouTube, so you can watch the video version of this, because why wouldn't you? As well as clips and shorts. Of course, you can email us, nerdsundisputed@gmail.com.
Now, I had a question about with you for that. Is it Nerds Undisputed or is it nerds.undisputed?
There's no dot.
There's no dot. Okay, cool. So when you told me many moons ago it was nerds.undisputed, and I've been saying it as nerds.undisputed, you were in fact lying to me.
Because there was one time I corrected you and you were like, no, you're wrong. And then I emailed you a picture of Ben Affleck working out, and then you were like, why did you send me a picture of Ben Affleck?
Yeah, and then I got to know you better and I knew exactly why you sent me a picture of Ben Affleck working out. I'm lucky it was just from the waist up.
But of course, all of these links will be in the description down below. So if both of us are wrong, you'll find the email address there. Don't you worry.
We should know now that Zane is never wrong, guys. He's never wrong. So anyway, you can get me on Instagram at Gentlemanly Gamer. You can also find me on Twitch. I'm back on Twitch, twitch.tv/Gentlemanly Gamer. Come at me if you want to tell me that my opinions are wrong, just like Zane. What are we doing next week, Zane?
I don't know. What are we doing next week?
I believe we're killing time until the Batman, aren't we?
That or Moon Knight at this rate.
Yeah. No, I think Batman's the week after next, isn't it? So that'll be the next one.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. 4th of March.
Yeah, Queen. And I need to book my tickets to go and see it because I've got to see it that opening week. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a favorite Batman stories.
Cool. Yeah. I
don't know if we will, but we'll see. Favorite Bat family adjacent stories. There you go, guys. It's the niche coming at you. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao for now. Bye-bye.